Miss Lofton here. Today I'm joined by Mr. Thomas Jefferson, a great man in American history. How are you today, Mr. Jefferson?
I'm doing quite well, thank you. Please call me Tom.
Let's start with your childhood, Tom. Where were you born?
I was born in Shadwell, Virginia on April 13th, 1743.
What was life like growing up?
Well, I was born into a very distinguished family on my mother's side, and my father was a surveyor. I had 9 brothers and sisters, so life was very busy, but I was not close to anyone outside of my immediate family. As a child, I loved nature and horseback riding. And as I grew older, I began to show interest in law, math, writing, and science. I also loved music and became quite good at the violin. When my father died, he left me a good deal of property, which I took control of when I turned 21.
It sounds like you really loved your education.
Oh, yes, school is very important.
Yeah. Well, tell me more. When did you marry?
I married my wife Martha a few years after I began practicing as a lawyer. She was a lovely lady, fantastic pianist, and a great hostess. Martha and I had 6 children and were happily together 10 years. After she passed away, I never remarried. I still miss her very much.
I'm sure you do. She sounds like quite a lady.
She sure was.
Now to the thing that you're most well known for. Tell us about your career.
Well, I started working in local government as well as practicing law. I was a magistrate, county lieutenant, and a member of the House of Burgesses. Following that, I was chosen to draft the Declaration of Independence
When was that?
in 1776.
I'm sure that was a great honor for you. Tell me about the Declaration.
The Declaration was a very important document. It stated that all men deserve equal rights, regardless of birth, wealth, or status, and that the government is to act to serve its people, not to rule over them.
It sounds like an important thing to be a part of. What did you do after you helped draft the Declaration?
Well, I left the Congress and returned to Virginia to serve in the legislature.
What part of the legislature?
I was elected governor, a position I served in from 1779 to 1781. And after that, I took a break from serving in the government for a few years.
Well, what did you do following the break?
In 1784, I entered the public service again, this time in France. I eventually became Benjamin Franklin's successor as minister, which led to my acceptance of the position of Secretary of State under George Washington.
Well, when was your first presidential candidacy?
Oh, that was in 1796. I was, however, beat out by John Adams and became vice president instead. I did not win the presidential election until 4 years later.
Well, you did some very good things for our country during your reign as president. Would you tell us about a few of those things?
Sure. During my first term, I purchased the Louisiana Territory and chose to support the Lewis and Clark expedition. I managed to maintain neutrality between Britain and France during a great time of conflict during my second term.
Did you just serve 2 terms as president?
Yes, after those terms, I was beat out by James Madison, who was a good friend.
So, when Madison became president, what happened to you? Did you remain in politics or did you retire?
I retired from politics, but then at the age of 76, I founded the University of Virginia. That was my final public service.
Very nice. Well, it was great talking to you, Mr. Jefferson. Thank you for being here.
You are very welcome, Brittany Lofton.